Bonjour, coucou mes amis. Hi, how are you? It's Alexis, back again with some TAPIF information, which if you are new to my channel is the teaching assistant program in France. I'm assuming if you're here it's probably specifically for that stuff, since it's the only things I'm going to presently or aim to have on this channel, since I don't really consider myself a YouTuber, but you never know. So we're here today to talk about all things orientation. So we talked previously, or I talked previously, about kind of coming here and finding a place to live and all of that fun stuff, which kind of brought me up to orientation. I can never remember, I arrived on the 18th of the 19th, just because of the day I flew out. I believe it was the 18th, so I think I arrived in Paris on the 19th, and our program starts on October 1st. The kind of ironic thing was that this year, October 1st was a Monday, so it wasn't even like a question of like, when's that going to be? It was kind of funny because it really was the weekend, and come the work day, that was our first day at work. I do want to disclaimer this video in that this orientation is going to be very specific to primary schools. I did not realize ahead of time, like before coming to France, how different the experience in all things how different it was going to be for primary teachers and language assistants and for secondary language assistants, because everything is really so different. And I think I'll make a separate video on exactly all the differences, because it has been honestly a bit of a shock, especially compared to how primary schools, from my point of view at least, are run in the United States. That's only coming from me as a student and not at all as a teacher. So, that being said, one biggest thing is keep in mind that this is for primary schools. And so take some of it, but not all of it. And two, this is for my specific region, so this is for Aix-Marseille. Because from speaking with other assistants, specifically even here in this region, who are here for their second year, who maybe did this program last year in a different region, they made it sound like what we went through was definitely unique. And with that being said, I honestly think we had a pretty good orientation experience, and it was as well run as you'd expect it to be. But in other regions, I definitely heard that there can be little to no just oversight or kind of getting people together or anything like that. So please bear in mind, always, 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 if you want to know something, try to go ask someone who is where you were, or at least in that same region, the year before. So, day one, October 1st. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. So, my internet is not working very well right now, so I do apologize that I don't have dates to give you or specific information with this one thing. I know that during the summer, at one point, we did receive an email that had kind of give us information on what documents we were going to need to bring to France with us. It had information like how many photocopies of your passport and your visa and all that fun stuff that you would need to bring. I definitely at the time kind of pushed it back to the back of my mind because I didn't have time to deal with it, and it wasn't something I was going to have to worry about for a while. So keep in mind, you will have a heads up on exactly what you will need. Some of it also you can't have at the moment because you're going to need to be able to provide details about you living there and having lodgement. So there are some things you just really can't do. There is also a piece of information on that document. There's a sheet that you did need to send back to your academy, and that's pretty clear. It's written clearly. I honestly actually missed it. I was, finishing up a job. I had a 50-hour work week life and had friends I was trying to spend time with. So to be honest, I was not catching everything. I was really detailed about certain things and very much oh, we had to do that the other half of the time. Oh well. But that being said, I sent it in and the academy never heard anything about it. And I really don't know how much they needed it because we basically had to sign something on the day of orientation. Anyway, so cut to, it is actually September 17th, so it was 2 days before we were leaving. We got a documentation about our planning, which was our schedule for orientation. Again, this is Aix-Marseille. I received this from my conseiller pédagogique, so my specific consultant, pedagogic consultant. She sent it over to us, and it had just kind of information about where we need to be for the first week. And sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze. It's just so sad. It had information about kind of like where we needed to be, what location it was at, and then also other free times that were left for like you meeting with your schools or anything like that. The first week, didn't actually go to any of my schools. I contacted them ahead of time. I let them know. I think one school actually I didn't contact as super ahead of time, but the one my teacher had said, like, please let me know as soon as you get to Avignon, when I had reached out to them during the summer. Because I do highly recommend that once you find out your teachers, just reach out to them, get it over with. I had 3 directors, like 2 directrices and 1 director of my schools, and I just emailed them all saying, like, hi, Alexis, I'm going to be your person. Please let me know if there's anything I should know about. Also, I had asked this because I didn't know at the time that only secondary schools get housing. So I was like, hey, if you have any recommendations about like housing or anything like that, please let me know. And all 3 of them actually did reply. Very nice. Like my one director, who's like really thorough, she gave me all this like information and stuff. The other 2 were just like, okay, I can't help you, but like, look for meeting you, blah, blah, blah. That was it. So I do recommend reaching out to them. Cut to, it is September 17th, and we have received our plannings, which is this schedule. So I received the schedule, and it really said, like, Monday you have to meet here for orientation with your paperwork. I think it was, and then Tuesday, I think it was the next day, we had to go to Marseille and spend the night there. And then the next day we had a longer orientation, and that was when we would go back. It was different for the secondary people because they actually spent 2 nights over in Marseille. Meanwhile, the primary people hitched it back over to whence they came. So we got kind of out of there. And really that, I want to say, no. And also that week, I'm going to get more into detail, so don't worry if you're like, this girl knows not what she's talking about. But then we had, the primary kids had another day, the day after Marseille, the day after we came back, we went to Marseille, which is a short train ride from Avignon. And we each, like everyone had their own little second orientation that was more specific to schools and like teaching and everything like that. And then that was really it for the week. So really depends what you're going to have to deal with, but I'm going to go into detail. So day 1, first of all, I had received an email previous to the day. It was on September 28th from a woman named Sonia, who is kind of like, I think, the admin, like gets everyone's stuff together lady here in Avignon. And she had emailed saying kind of things that I needed to make sure I had to bring with me on that day. I'm going to read off the list because otherwise I won't remember. My data is working. It's just my Wi-Fi is not really working. So I needed to bring a photocopy of the first page of my passport or a copy of my carte d'identité for if I was like from a European country. So obviously I needed my US passport. I needed a photocopy of my visa because I'm not a European Union member. I also needed a photocopy of my birth certificate, which I did bring. I know things are different if you are not American. I'm thinking Canadian too, like American Canadian. It's not if it's not in English or French or something like that. You do need to have a translation, and that is previously stated in several places. So please reference that. You also need 2 ribs, which you're going to get from your bank. If you do not have them that day, it'll be okay. It's fine. It just makes life easier. You get paid faster if you have your ribs on that day. We had really the first, I think, full week to get your rib in without you having to worry about getting paid later. And it's literally just, you're going to get paid later. That is it. No one is going to punish you if you don't have your rib. It is only just going to suck for your bank account. That is it. And then you also need a justification of your domicile. So you need proof of where you're living. I had a letter actually, so I'm in like a odd leasing thing. So I had a letter from my like landlord saying I was living with her, and then she also gave me a copy of her like electricity bill and a copy of her identity card, which is really nice, really helpful, and I needed all of those things. So that was very helpful, and I'm glad I had it. We also had to have a declaration of our honor that we would like our honor code sign off. That they gave us there because I had actually emailed her back, and I was like, I'm sorry, what is this declaration of honor? She didn't say. So, but on the day of, I was like, well, we'll find out. And on the day of, I received it, and everyone in my group like had to sign it there and give it off then. So don't worry. There is another thing to note on the documents that I kind of mentioned you would receive sometime during the summertime. It did say that all the things that you have will need to be printed on, I think it's like standard A4 paper. It's the paper that they use in France because they don't use the same document, like paper sizing, that we use, at least in the US. I don't think it's the same in Canada either. I think Canada uses what the US is. But, so I knew some people that said, again, something I didn't realize it said originally, and I was like, are you kidding me? So, some people were like, oh, I ordered paper, I printed my stuff out. I didn't, and I kind of knew this. I showed up, and I was like, hi, I'm so sorry, I didn't know where to go, because I honestly didn't, I wasn't exactly sure, and then it kind of totally slipped my mind, to be honest. I was like, hi, I'm so sorry, my all my paperwork is in, like, American sizing. Is there a way I can, like, make photocopies and print this off on your paper size? And my concierge was like, it's fine, don't worry about it. However, if you are a stickler and you're like, that's giving you too much anxiety, by all means, just when you come here, go to one library. You will need proof of where you live. So if you can have, like, I brought my 1, contract with me when I went to the library, 2, passport, and 3, I bought a piece of mail with me, so that said where I was living, which is obviously difficult to do, but you probably could bring the lease if you get that in time. So obviously the library is a little bit trickier the faster you need these copies and such, but there are places to do copies, and a lot of times if you have a USB or a clay, as I call here, so if you have a USB with your information on it, a lot of times photocopy places can print that stuff out for you. Just ask around, somebody will know a place nearby, and I know plenty of people that have gone, or even some people at hotels, like at the hotels, they had the hotels print stuff out for them, which was very nice. So there are options. Don't freak out too much, but for me at least it was fun. So had all my paperwork, we went to orientation. I had it here in Avignon because Avignon is pretty big, and so we had everyone that was from Avignon as well as these surrounding areas. It was like 20 something of us. It was a lot. There's a lot of honestly people at Avignon and the suburbs, essentially, of Avignon. So we had everybody that was primary and in the area there, which was really cool and really nice to see. I thought this was kind of like me and 3 other people, and I was like, oh, there's like a lot of us, because I hadn't tried to really meet anybody before orientation. I was in like my own like self-pity, I'm lonely and missing like family and friends hole that I dug myself into before orientation. So I hadn't met anyone, and I was like, oh wow, this is like a lot of people, which was cool. And we went, there was a lot of different conseillers there, and the woman's like, okay, where are you? And I was like, Avignon, like Avignon Centre, my schools are Olivade and Grand Cyprès, and she's like, oh, okay, you're with me. And so they had a big talk. To be honest, I don't remember what it was. We all sat down on the concierge. It was really just like, like, Sophie, here are your assistants, like Jessica, Alexis, Clarice, Julianne, McKenna, here, like, you can talk with them afterwards. And then they told us a little bit about what our orientation days were going to be like. So they kind of talked about, like, introduced us to each other, talked about orientation days, and said, like, okay, just so you know, tomorrow you guys are going to go to Marseille, and you're going to take the train, or really however you want to get there. We already have like lodging and stuff for you, which was really nice. So just go, check in, you'll get food partially reimbursed for that night, and then you can come back the next day. That following Thursday, we have to go to have a second orientation and we're going to meet over in Montreal. You're going to take this train. Here's a Google Map printout of it. Meet there at this time. You're going to want to take this bus or this train, yada yada. We will see you then and send you a reminder. So it was nice. Once we broke up from that, we met up specifically with our conseiller, and I believe there's like 4 or 5 of us that have Carol, who, by the way, if you get her, she was awesome. She was really, really lovely, and that's who we had. And she took all of us, made sure we had our paperwork. I think there were 1 or 2 girls that needed to get something off of the USB. So once we had done our paperwork, and she talked a little bit to us, and she just made sure we knew everything that we had wanted to know, we went upstairs, handed in our paperwork to kind of like an administrative assistant there, and kind of just handled it. Me and my friend McKenna had said, like, oh, we haven't been to our schools yet. I had talked to mine, and I was planning to go on Friday, but that was all I had planned so far. And she's like, oh, let me just take you both now. And I guess the other girls in the group had already visited their schools. She's like, oh, I'll just take you now. And we're like, okay. So she actually drove us. We got in her car, and she drove us to our, my friend had 3 schools, and I have 3 schools, but the 2 are like connected, so it feels like 2. 2 schools, and she drove us there and introduced us to our directors, which was like above and beyond what I thought was going to happen. And so honestly, I think this is extremely rare. Our conseiller was just like the bestest. I just want to use bad words, like in a good way. The best. So I have to admit, I don't think that's going to be everyone's experience. Everyone else that I talked to had a fine experience, but it was just more like, okay, like, we gotta take paperwork, like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. But they didn't go above and beyond, like, let me drive you there and talk to your director and make sure they know that they're only supposed to work you this much. So that was very nice of her. She dropped us off. We walked back. Day 1, Monday, October 1st was done. On October 2nd, I took the train to Marseille and checked into a hostel, essentially, that they kind of had booked for us. So we went to this hotel place, really close to the Marseille train station, and they had already booked everything for us. So you just had to sign in with your name, and you're like, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. I reached out to some people so I checked into my room. It was very much shared, like, people had to share beds, like a queen bed, like 2 strangers potentially could have had to share a queen bed together. So that was interesting, but also it was free lodging, so I guess you can't complain too much. I don't know anyone who had problems with it. But that being said, I met up with some people when I was there. I was like, hey, yeah, let's do something. For the nights that you were there, like, they gave you 1 included meal a day. So I could actually spend up to like $15 for my meal, and they would reimburse me for that, which was really nice and very kind of them to pay for. Like, you would hope somebody would do that. That's what they should do, but it's not always guaranteed. So you never know. I've worked in businesses, and they don't always do that. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. I'll leave it at that. So we went out, had a dinner. It was like really easygoing, like Senegalese food, so I didn't spend a crazy amount of money anyway. And then I went out with people, and it was very nice to meet some other assistants. And the funny thing too was that unknowingly the majority were from Avignon, but to be honest, so much of us are from Avignon. I guess it wasn't that shocking. But yeah, the majority of us were from the same place anyway, which was kind of cool. And a few people were returning assistants, so it's always really amazing to hear returning assistants' points of view and anecdotes and just kind of tales of whoa and yay. So certainly if you're a returning assistant, we really value you. Please know that. Thank you. So that night ended. The next day we had a pretty early day orientation. We met at like the University Aix-Marseille. It was cool, a little bit of a mess trying to find the place. The security guard told us the wrong direction to walk in, so that had going on a bit of a roundabout for a bit, and then it was fine. So we went there, we talked for like ever. It was really just like, felt like a networking session in the morning. We had to sign in. They gave us a piece of paper that was with our like school number. I'm going to be honest, I still don't know what to do with it. Like, I took a picture of it. I know I have it saved somewhere, but I don't know what it means. I think it's useful if you're doing the CAP, which I'm not doing. So I don't know yet what I have to do it for. Maybe I need it for OV. I haven't done it. They haven't contacted me yet, so I don't know. I will get back to you if I figure out what the number they gave me is for. After about like what felt like 2 hours of networking, we went to a general auditorium, and they gave us a really long like PowerPoint slide about different things. They talked about the CAP a little bit. They talked about OFI a little bit. They talked about the reimbursement for being in Marseille. They talked about reimbursements going ahead of time, because you do get reimbursed for half of your like monthly. What do I want to say? I forget words sometimes in English now. Commuting expenses, but they have to be like, they make it sound like they have to be like monthly passes. So like I bought a monthly bus pass that's $50 because I'm older. So if you are under 26, it'll be cheaper for you. Thank you. I'm 27, so I don't get that benefit. So I had to pay $50, and therefore they should reimburse me $25 for that. So he talked a little bit about that, a couple other things. I took some screenshots of important slides, and I'm glad I did, because I took photos, not screenshots, photos, real high tech, of some slides, because he said he was going to send them, but, never trust completely, and he didn't. So, hey, I have a screenshot. I have, like, photographs of the screen that we went to. We had that. We went through a round of like, hi, my name is, I'm from here, until the microphone died. Then that stopped. Some people actually on that day handed in their paperwork for OFI, which was kind of cool. I had left mine in the hotel, so I did not have mine. But after that, we actually went to lunch in like the school cafeteria, and that was taken care of, which was nice, and it wasn't a bad lunch. So I appreciated it. And then me and my friend just took the train back, ended our day. And then the next day, we went to Maria, and again, this was just primary. So us primary people, at least in the Avignon area, went to a school, and it was actually, I think, a lycée, or college. I still get confused because I'm not teaching at them. It was about like 6th graders or so, like 12-year-olds, I think. And we went to a school there and had another day of orientation. And this was with kind of our two ladies who handle, Christine and Sophie, who handle like primary in the area. And it was more lessons on kind of teaching, handling primary school. We did some activities there. They told us a little bit more about the program in general and the breakdown of kind of like levels of like CP versus CM, so like how advanced and kind of what ranges there are going on, and a couple other things. Had to act around children, like, which is hard with kids, like if they're all hugging me, what do I do with my hands? Which obviously most would know, but they're like, it's okay, like if they hug you, you don't have to be like, release me, I don't want to be arrested, but you have to be like, they're there, please stop. So we talked about a lot of different things. It was honestly, I really liked orientation week because I just got to get to know my fellow assistants a lot more, and I hadn't really done that before that week started. So it was a really nice opportunity for just me to meet and talk with people, and I'm grateful for orientation week for that. I don't think I gained much else besides that, but I'm glad, if anything, it existed because of the lovely friendships I made. Thanks, guys. So to kind of, there were a little bit, going back to secondary assistants, they stayed in Marseille for an additional night while we came back, and they had another day of orientation as well. I think it wasn't where it had been, where all of our days had been. I think they had to take a train actually from Marseille to somewhere else, but they still spent the night in Marseille. So that was kind of how their situation handled. And then Friday was free, because that was our Moria day was on Thursday, and then we all took the train back and wrapped everything up, and Friday was free, and then commenced everything. So that was really orientation week. I can't think of too much else besides that. I really like my concierges. They're really nice. Our specific one that I had she's amazing, Carol, and then Christine and Sophie, who are kind of like this hilarious duo that handle the Avignon primary kind of field. Were also really lovely, and I've seen them follow up with some emails giving us more games to play, and also seeing that they're like, hey, we visited your school. Like Katie, here's that game that we talked about that maybe you want to play. So it does look like they're actually making the rounds here and kind of checking in on people, which is very nice. So I'm grateful. I had a good orientation week. I hope that makes you feel better, that there is something. But if you really are concerned about what orientation is going to include, or if you have an orientation essentially at all, really ask your other people. Like ask people who've been in your same feel like primary, secondary, and then also in your region, specifically in your academy, because I think that very much depends on the academy, because all of Aix-Marseille Academy went to these orientations, but I don't know what somebody in the Montpellier Academy did or had to do. It really, really can vary, so certainly check in with that. That being said, yeah, hope you liked it, hope you feel better. I'm still having a great time. We're only in, it currently is November, but it's November 13th, I do believe, so I'm still really loving it here, and every week work gets easier. Still awkward at AF, but it gets easier, so don't freak out too much, alright? You're gonna be fine. Alright, be soon.